that has been approved. Is that correct? Does anybody remember that? Most of you were at that meeting.
Correct.
It was $4 million.
Yeah, it was approved.
Okay.
Approved, yeah.
Just ask.
He was there too.
I'm confirming that it was approved.
They weren't here.
Oh, but he was.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
you can answer.
And what was the name of the company that was the advisor for that, please?
I don't know off the top of my head.
To me, it's Bradford Payne.
Bradley Payne. That would be the company that sponsored the festival in 2018, correct?
That I don't know.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you would like, I can present to you a copy of their sponsorship certificate. The company that did the design work, what was the name of that company, Tracy?
For what?
The maintenance garage.
Rhinestone or Carroll?
And they were also a sponsor in 2018 of the festival. I brought up last meeting that I was able to attend, and I apologize, I was not at the last meeting, of the evening meeting. The Jacobs contract that the township entered into several years ago for planning and zoning. Mr. Wiedemann, you said you'd have to go back and review that. Were you able to do that in the past 60 days?
I'm sorry.
Mr. Wiedemann, Sycamore Township has a contract with Jacobs Engineering that was entered into years ago for planning and zoning.
Correct.
At the last meeting I was at, you said you would have to go back and review that agreement. That was 60 days ago.
I don't recall saying that I was going to go back and review it, but go ahead.
Have you had a chance
I
to?
have not reviewed it because I don't recall ever telling you that I was going to.
Okay. You can watch the
Okay.
video on our
Good.
YouTube page. I just wanted to point out one page out of their illustrious statement of qualifications that go over planning and so many different facets, which gets to the heart of the matter of what people were bringing up today. One of the tasks and activities that was to be done in week 3, 4, and 5 of their contract, and I believe that contract was 2013, or was it 2015? Evidently nobody knows. The contract was for $99,000. Since that time, the township spent an additional at least $20,000. So we spent $115,000, but evidently nobody remembers that. In the 3rd, 4th, and 5th week of that contract, Jacobs was tasked with public input. Mr. Wiedemann, Mr. Connor, Mr. LaBarbera, I wanted to make sure that you knew about that. And that's what I brought up to make sure you went back and reviewed. So as you were unable to find that document, I brought it for you. As you know, many citizens have spent many hours of their time volunteering their time to ensure that their voice is heard. The township approved a process and even a private entity to facilitate that, and it only took, as of late, about half a dozen volunteers through the Civic Association to speak up and say, where is the citizen input in the planning and zoning process? We still do not have citizen input into the planning process. Years later, $120,000 plus later. We supposedly are going to have a zoning committee. Let's start with that. I understand applications have been submitted for at least 30 days by some people, maybe 60, but to my knowledge, no committee has been formed. Will one ever be formed?
Harry, you want to address that?
Sure.
How many applicants do we currently have for that position?
I think we have 5.
We have 5 applicants.
5.
Do you have a plan on how we're moving forward on that?
Yeah, the challenge is, we were very specific in the requirements, because as the board knows, the land use plan is an important part of our community. It dictates how the land's gonna be used, so we feel that it's important for those who are on the land use steering committee are educated to where they understand the logic behind land use, they understand what happens with land use, which there's a difference.
Mr. Holbert,
Can I finish?
It was zoning.
Well, let me finish.
The subject was zoning.
Well, that has to do with the land use steering committee also.
So there's maybe I'm ignorant. There's a land use steering committee now for citizens as opposed to a zoning steering committee?
It's a land use steering committee that we're looking at forming.
This is the first I've heard of it. It's wonderful.
Have you ever been on our website? I mean, I think I gave you instructions on how to get on our website, but we may have lost it. I'm not sure. So if you
Please
want-
continue if you can, Prince Harry.
I would like that, thank you. So, anyway, the land use steering committee, it's important that we have people on that board, just like any other board, that understands the logic behind it, which is a lot different than residents' comments. We value the residents' comments and how we do that, but you also have to have a background for the people who are presenting that to the trustees. Not every suggestion, as you know, becomes law. The land use steering committee is something that ultimately becomes the law of the township on how the land will be developed. This is important. You with me so far?
I thought you were speaking to Tom to bring him up to speed.
Well, he asked me if I could address it. You asked the question, so I'm actually addressing it back to you.
The question was, will there be a committee?
Yes, we have 5 applicants currently, and we will be, I'm sure we're in the process of determining.
We are, and what I'm doing is I'm kind of highlighting why it's not formed already. It's one of those things that's important to the township and to the residents. So we're trying to get enough applicants to actually fill the 3 seats plus 1 alternate. We have 1 applicant that has actually followed through with the full process. We've given guidelines on what we need to fill those positions. It's just like, I'll give you an example. When you look at a position that's filled at the township, there's usually some type of requirement in order to fill that position, whether it's an educational requirement, whether it's experience requirements, and so on. It's important that the land use steering committee fulfills those requirements also, because they're the ones who are going to be taking the information from the residents and working with the input from the residents, and then coming up with a plan to put in front of the trustees.
So the township has no time frame.
We don't, because we've advertised it in every way imaginable. I actually put it in the Cincinnati Enquirer, it's on our website, we put it in our newsletter, which goes out to 20,000 residents, and we still have 5 applicants total. If we need 3 that can contribute to the land use steering committee, and then we also need an alternate, and then we need 1 for a zoning commission member, we're still waiting for more people to apply. So until we get applicants that fulfill the requirements, the positions aren't gonna be filled. It's just like any other job. You have to be qualified to fill a position before you're hired to fill that position. So to give you the Cliff Notes answer, the positions haven't been filled yet. The ads are still out there. The information is still on their website. It just went in our newsletter to 20,000 residents about a month ago. So we're doing everything imaginable to try to get that position filled and then continue.
Well, I would hope, as per the contract with Jacobs, that the township would honor it where it says public input, as opposed to maybe just qualified and vetted and selected input.
Well,
think this is
remember, I
something-
clarified that. I said there's a difference between the land use steering committee and residents' input.
Wait, this is like a broken record, because we did address this a number of months ago.
Yeah.
And we brought it up, the fact that this was a contract that we paid almost $99,000
Correct.
in 2015.
Right.
So there should have been input at that time, it was not used, so.
Well, at the
this-
time, we altered that timeframe. That was just a standard schedule they put out for all their plans. We kind of changed it a little bit to do the process that we're doing. You authorized the creation of a land use committee, areas put the information out there, and to date, we have, one qualified applicant that we can take forward? We're
Really,
still
we
waiting
have
on more, so
one qualified
it's a
applicant.
process of getting the right people on this board. And that's, I think, where Harry's at in the process.
Well, it's important, and I'll speak to the board on this. As you know, that is how the township will be developed in the future. So you want people on that board to have some type of experience, because that is an important part of Sycamore Township, that land use plan. So while we may have, I'm pulling a number, we may have 20 residents that would like to be on that board, while we'll value their input during the discussion, they may not have the qualifications to be on that board. But we're still gonna use their input to make the decisions, but it's just like any other job. You need the background, you need to understand how land use is developed. And part of the qualifications were, an attorney, with land use experience, planning and zoning, a real estate agent. All these people have experience in that, so we're looking at those. The other
Can I
challenge
say
that.
something? Eric, can I
I'm
say
sorry.
something? This is a broken record because we continue to have this conversation and we continue to confuse and overlap the zoning resolution and the land use plan.
Yeah.
Which are two separate documents and two separate processes.
Correct.
All throughout this thing, the zoning resolution, which is, I believe, what this contract was signed to create,
No,
comprehensive plan and zoning code update.
plan and zoning code. The statement of qualifications, which I did not provide you all the documentation on, includes 3 pages covering their planning capabilities and 1 page covering their zoning capabilities.
It's both, it's both.
It is. Here's, the point is, we are already in process to revise our zoning code.
Correct.
We have had numerous citizen input, both in person and written and conversations with Harry. We have had citizen input into that process. And there's a lot of logistical things that we're still working through on that document. The land use plan comes after that, works with that zoning resolution. You can shake your head, Mr. Ford, but this is what the process is.
In Sycamore Township,
Yes,
right, which is
And
an
it-
anomaly.
that's your opinion.
That's objective.
That's your opinion. We're working on a zoning resolution. The land use plan board will then take that resolution and apply what is described in there to the various areas in the township to help carve a plan for the future. We're following a process. We did not agree to set up a citizen review committee for the zoning resolution. We were too far down the line when that demand was put on us. We continued on the process that we were going on, and we have then since set out a request for people to apply to join the land use plan board, and that's the process we're working on right now.
Well, I'll bring, just to conclude this, because this is obviously gonna carry on possibly into 2020. And I'll bring all of the documents for your review so that you can see exactly what was agreed to. I do appreciate your use of the term home rule, Tom. One of the things I've been trying to get Sycamore Township to allow the common man or common person or woman to do is to be able to sustain themselves off of their own land. One of those things would simply be chickens. It's common throughout Hamilton County even, and for whatever reason, Sycamore Township has a big government approach where the citizens and the common man cannot even have chickens, for the most part, 99% of the property owners. So I went to an Ohio State University event, and I'll just share with you the event. Blue Ash, for example, has no restrictions. Any of their citizens can have chickens, and that'll be it. Thank you.
Hey, just one thing, you know, maybe I'm looking at, and in all fairness to Harry, because Harry's been away for a while. So that's part of the reason why this thing hasn't moved more quickly. But maybe, you know, you're looking at a lawyer, a real estate person, maybe we have to lower our standards a little bit. Think about it. Let's get together, maybe the trustees and Greg look over these people who have applied for this and move this along a little quicker. Just a thought. We can maybe discuss it in the workshop and stick it around.
Aaron and I are happy to do whatever.
Okay, who's up next?
Tracy Hughes.
Hi, Tracy Hughes, 4705 Dunedin Avenue. I was actually going to ask about the Land Use Steering Committee. It was posted on January 25th on the Facebook page to apply. I have applied. I feel like I have the qualifications. I've been a real estate paralegal for more than 25 years. I have my real estate license. And I just heard you say that there's only one applicant who's gone all the way through the process. Could you tell me what the whole process is?
It's actually on our website. I can,
I mean, I've given you my resume, and I was told when I gave my resume that we're gonna look at them and we will call you in for an interview. That's what I was told, so that's why I'm asking if you need more information from me, I need to go to the website.
you do. Basically what the website does, it gives you a list of the information we're looking for. So we're looking for references, we're looking for the letter of intent, and basically gives us the history, your background. I think what I have from you is.
You have my resume and a letter that gave me my qualifications, because that's what you posted on the Facebook page, and I was told they were gonna get in touch with me. I do have a job, I am very interested in the land use plan here. I would have been happy to do this. I don't go to your website every day, I don't find it very user-friendly, but I will go figure out the rest of the process.
If you call me tomorrow, I'll guide you through it and give you the link. We've tried to make the website as easy to find information. I know.
There's lots of drop-down boxes, and you have to go through lots of
Yeah.
drop-down boxes, and
In trying to provide so much information to each individual resident, because each resident has their own needs,
right.
sometimes the big picture is everything is on there. Well, now you've got to find it. So in our effort to, for example, put the zoning resolution on there, it was on the front page and it said zoning resolution. I still had people that couldn't find it, but we try our best to make everything as easy as
Right.
possible for the residents to find it. We actually started posting out all the zoning information, whether it's BZA, zoning commission, or trustees, out on the board out there, so that those people who don't have computers, but hopefully they have cars, or a bicycle, they can ride by the township and look up on our board, and there's all the zoning stuff for the next 2 months. So, again, it's that total disclosure, that total, we're trying to put all the information out there, but on our website, we have so many departments within the township. We all have so much information put on there, it may make it a little bit difficult for you to find what you're looking for.
I'm just saying, I wanted to volunteer.
Yeah.
I care about my township. I feel I have the qualifications. I did what was instructed. I spoke to you.
Yeah.
They said, we're gonna have interviews. I didn't know I had to go online and get references. I'm happy to do all that, but,
Check it out, call me if you have questions.
all right. Because there are more than the 5 people who've applied probably haven't gone to your website to do that. To do all that,
Yeah.
so. All right, thank you.
Or if you have a qualified person, low indication, step in and take a look at this, please.
Okay. I've taken a look at a couple of them.
Yeah.
I've got concerns on a couple of them, but we'll take a look at them, yeah.
There was a phone number and an email address, so you could have shot me an email saying, hey, could you go to the website, there's more you need to do. I would have done that.
Thank you. Great.
Roger and Pam Gellenbeck? No. Nope, okay.
Just signed in.
Okay.
Bob
Thank you.
Clark?
I got a new one for you here. My name is Robert Clark. I live at 4860 Marie View Court, across the street from the Kenwood Baptist Church, which is located at 8341 Kenwood Road. I want to make a formal complaint against the church for ringing bells every hour. Also on Sunday, they play music loud, the bells. They're playing hymns. They ring them over 100 times at 9:20, and then about 9:40 they ring them 100 more. And it wakes me up. I work different shifts, and I want the bell ringing to stop. It's 100 times at 9:20.
Have you talked to the church?
No, I haven't. That's all I have.
I'll reach out to the pastor.
Okay.
It's,
Who's here today?
yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I know it's kind of trivial, but it's important to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mark Phillips.
For the record, Mark Phillips, 5169 Autumnwood Drive in the township. I live on the north side of the proposed facility. I'm going to make this kind of short but direct, which is generally my style. I think it was Cool Hand Luke, right, that said, what we have here is a failure to communicate. And, you know, here's the thing. I mean, I've been a township resident since 1990 in Heitmeyer. I really like the township. I think